Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, the 19th of July, 2022. 7 and 19 being really good gematria numbers with quite a bit of significance. And yeah, so I'll just leave it at that. Who knows what's going to happen today? A lot going on with politics, obviously, always. And if you're still looking at mainstream media to get your news, today, this is your sign. Stop. Uh, get off Google as much as you can, more and more, especially in the last few months. There's a lot of misinformation, and it's out of control. It's so out of control. So many different things in the news now. I don't even know what to target first. Right? These excess deaths in the last couple of weeks would be certainly a good place to start. And what my suspicions are that it's regarding, and like I've said for the last 2.5 years, I do believe it's because of mandates and because of these therapeutics and the treatments with other therapeutics, excuse me, if people do get COVID. So Paxlovid, I've already discussed this. 100% of people that take this treatment, excuse me, after COVID treatment or whatever, they get COVID. This is confirmed. Fauci got it, Jimmy Dore, so many other people. And so why is that a treatment option after so many things? And remdesivir, this is there's a really high mortality rate with remdesivir, and this is something that we injected our senior citizens with, not this past April, but the one preceding that, 2021. And there was a lot of deaths that happened within the April timeframe, and something that I was screaming from the top of my lungs, and so many other people too. And yeah, and we did that. And there's reports out there from law enforcement and from civilian companies and private investigators that have been hired to make assessments on how, like, family members and others have passed away very suspiciously in the last 2 years, especially, and then the military reports that came out because of the long-term care facilities and things like that there's a lot of issues with care and treatment of our elders. Shocking treatment, and then this was even beyond pre-COVID. Excuse me. And why that bothers someone like me is my grandmother. She was like a partner, or whatever you want to call it, in a nursing home in Quebec, and so, like, from birth, I used to go there all the time, and so even in the summers and the winters, I would go and spend weeks there, and my grandmother would, have us, my sister and I, do chores and and talk with the elders, and did that for many, many years. And even through my teenage years, then I started doing work for pay at this nursing home, knowing that this was not something that was going to be long term, but it's just something that I enjoyed, and everyone was, like, very interesting. And even like my prom, my grade 11 prom, which is when you graduate in Quebec, I went to the nursing home and I have pictures of me in my prom dress with Isa, this woman that was almost 100 years old when she passed away. And anyway, yeah, just good times. And so very interesting. So I do, it really bothers me when I hear about mistreatment of elderly, or anyone, but especially in, like, long-term care homes or nursing homes, because they are paying for good services and being supported and things like that, and there's, like, so many people that their doorknobs were taken off, or people were locked in their rooms, not able to shower because there's no showers in their rooms. In a lot of these places too, they have to go to, like, a communal one, and they weren't able to do walks, and there was just so many issues, and people, like, getting on social media or trying to reach out to their family, and it was a really, really hard time, and it still is for a lot of people. And yeah, so this is why I would love to have these discussions with Justin and Marco and Omar and Kieran and Teresa and Patty and Christian, just be like, how dare you? Like, how dare you, like, be so far removed and ignorant about what's going on with everything, with the excess deaths, that you're still pushing the same narrative and then continuing to, like, threaten to impose additional ones, or similar ones, so that that didn't work. They don't work. There's other ways. And yeah. Oh yeah, and digital ID and using the ArriveCan app, terrible ideas. This is something, again, as well, from the beginning I was saying is not a good idea. And even in Ontario, there's a lot of information that's linked to our public health here, that's no one's business. Like, and it's not to insult anyone or anything like that, but like doctors and nurses, even them, they don't have any business knowing what I, like a top secret, like SF infantry officer, like current business owner, Athena Incorporated, for like several years working with multiple levels of government. Like I don't, like your my salary, my work, my employment, my like none of these things are your business. Like you and I can communicate if needed and when needed, if there's any health concerns or issues that we need to address, and I'll tell you what you need to know if you ask me. But I'm sorry, there's so many reasons why like you don't need to have like again, even with nurses, like there's a lot of information, even my own health information they don't need to know. It's not their business. And so they're not doctors. They're like, even doctors are general practitioners, like they're like and so it's anyway, like it's not to insult anyone's intelligence. I'm just frustrated that people overly rely on people that they assume to be um out for your best interest, which is never going to be the case. We're always going to be out for our own interests anyway. So salaries, like any like diseases or viruses that you've had in the past or currently have, um, occupation, your vehicle makes, like addresses. So again, security breaches, like on so many different levels, like independence, like if you have children, if you don't have children, if you've been married before, the names of like spouses and partners. Again, CBSA officers, police, like they don't need, this is none of their business. And just because you don't pay taxes, and like you assume that because they wear the uniform that they can be trusted. Not everyone can be trusted. That's all levels of the world, right? This is reality. And I do have, again, like great friends that are like all levels of government, law enforcement, military included. Obviously, I train with them still and I work with them still. Just that there are still ones that even I have had issues with and currently have issues with on so many different levels. Yeah, and it maybe has to do with being, a female working in a male dominated environment. I know this stuff happens. It's happened before, but still, it's just something to be like aware of. And if you're traveling too, like flight attendants, they don't, that's none of their business either, right? And so like this information is very hackable. It's been proven time and time again. Even the ArriveCan app has already been hacked, and even our Ontario health database is like hacked. And so like, yeah, like things are not as secure as you think they are, because a lot of these things cost money. And so like ask your hospitals or your family doctor, if it's okay to send emails, and they're going to say no. And because it's not secure, because they don't want to pay the money to do secure emails or any of that stuff either. And that's why for them, this is easy. But if you are traveling to other countries where it's possibly not as safe, or you could be seen as a threat or a spy, even, like, again, depending on the country you go to, these are real things. We even have people traveling right now that are part of sports teams that are detained and like in prisons right now because of suspicions of being, spies or whatever. And or because of being like having background of of a different group, you know what I mean, that may or may not be, dealing with like issues in the world right now, ridiculous things. And even our two Michaels from Canada being in prison in China for, a few years. And so again, this stuff is not to be so easily dismissed. So like if you work in any level of government, like even when diplomats go to other countries to be teachers or in any capacity, like humanitarian aid, Red Cross, often like they have been kidnapped, held for ransom, even in their vehicles going to and from work, like from their gated communities. Sometimes, like even if you stop at like lights or signs, like people have entered vehicles, and with under gunpoint, people have had to like drive people to certain checkpoints or areas or give money. And these are even people that I know personally, again. So this happens more often than we think. And then and oftentimes they're released too. Like that's why it's not, I guess, as big of a media frenzy or anything. But it certainly should be more than a lot of things in the media right now. Oh my god, especially like Kim K and these people. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, and like speaking of her, like there's like she's in the media again for like not having tattoos. Like cool. And she's just like why would you ruin a Bentley or whatever? Like okay, but it also matters what you put inside the vehicle too, honey. And you've had a lot of questionable things inside your body that I have not had inside my body, or many other girls that have tattoos, right? So yeah, like, so your whole Bentley thing, it's like, it matters what you put in, not only what you ingest, but also the other areas too that you've, again, like, even like on national television, like, you've been, like, that's how you got famous, like, literally because of that. So again, don't talk about tattoos, because it's like not only insulting to, I mean, it's not insulting to me, I don't care, but there's just so many civilizations and cultures for hundreds, if not thousands of years, where tattooing is a part of their rituals, their ceremonies, like that's part of their, like, what they do, and it's beautiful, right? And so just to, like, so easily dismiss that, and for such ignorant reasons, and like, and like, hypocritical, that's the whole point. Like, it's so hilarious because of who is saying it. Like, oh my god, it's just like Ron Jeremy, I guess, or whatever his name is, I guess, is gonna be next. Like, maybe he doesn't have tattoos either, and so, uh yeah, I already talked about, like, more excessive deaths in the last couple of weeks in all countries, the last couple of weeks, couple of months, and low birth rates. That's going to continue to happen. Hopefully, not. Well, my God, that's hopefully not going to impact things more than they already have. But, like, I know that they are, and so sorry, I'm getting a little distracted because, like, there's kids playing, like, right in the backyard, and my window that was damaged in the rainstorm is still damaged, and so I can't close it, and so it's really loud. I hope it's not really impacting the video here, but anyway. Digital ID, I talked about that, not a good idea. The ArriveCan app, not a good idea. And again, like, the biggest points on that is there's people that are not qualified to have this information that can do things with it, and or, like, even being hackable, and or being security issues if and when traveling to other countries. And that's with your children too, right? Because even kids get kidnapped as well and can be exploited, even if they're not even traveling with you. And so, and like, even your employment, your salaries, like the amount of money you make is on these digital IDs, and blood types, so many things. Like, this is not and yeah, and if you work in positions where, you've put a lot of time and effort into your qualifications and certifications and stuff like that, like, why do you have to, like, so easily give up all your information to someone that's not giving you the same amount of information about them, that's nowhere near as qualified, or yeah, they're not as qualified or experienced or have the training necessary to even, like, deal with the information that they're so, like, they're insisting that they should have, right? Not your business. This is why freedom is, like, just so paramount. And there's so many videos right now too of, like, border issues, like, with people, like, literally harassing men and women that are in their 80s and 90s. Oh my god, it blows my mind. Like, how do you live with yourself? I don't know. You think that you're doing the right thing? You're not. You're not. Oh. So I'm just, like, looking over, like little brief notes here just to make sure that I don't miss anything. Oh yeah, so, like, I've been doing a lot of research on ancient history, ancient civilizations, and it's just weird to me that there's a lot of, like, famous philosophers and political people or royalty or you name it, that there's no recollection or history of them before, like, the most, like, very recent history, right? So it's only within, like, the last, like, a couple hundred years, like, not even where we're getting all this information about these people that may or may not have existed in the past, right? And so, like, even people like Plato, and I don't want to, like, offend anyone, but, like, let's say, like, religious people as well may have been made up, and then there's chronologists that have been studying more too, that are putting in a lot of, like, interesting dates. I talk about this in all my videos now because it's, like, it's pretty important. What about, like, certain resets, or whatever we want to call it, being preludes to or preparations for, like, a Phoenix event that's possibly coming in the year 2040, and the last one being 1902, and the one before that being 1764. Yeah. And then there's, like throughout history, like, there's just, like, these timed events too, where there's also been, like, these black suns, or these like, red moons that have like, filled the air with these other, like, objects that have created, like, catastrophes in, like, various different areas of the world, and like recorded in their history, and so like these are confirmed dates, right? And like these very specific events happening, and how we know this is that there's been like drawings and scripture and scriptures and stuff like that made and shared, um, that show these events. And so it's very interesting. And if that's the case, all we have to do is just try to be out of the way where this thing is in the world in the year 2040. Again, nothing to be scared about, because it's not like there's been so many of these predictions anyways, right, throughout time, and that they've clearly not worked yet. And so this is just like likely just one of those, another one of those like end of the world, not, it's not even an end of the world event, actually. It's just like a phoenix event, which also symbolizes like eagle stuff too. So apparently in the US before 1902, like the last time the phoenix came, like their symbol or whatever was a phoenix, and then they changed it to the eagle, which is interesting. And but yeah, so if this thing comes, then it may or may not be hitting certain areas of the world, like Europe and parts of America. And so it would be good possibly to be underground, I don't know, or underwater, or away from it, and then you would be fine, right? And then next, right? And then there's like another event possibly coming in the year 2046, which is another event that's based off of predictive patterns from history, from a chronologist who's read thousands of books, and it's just talking about like a tribulation period, or a period of like a struggle. But again, like I mean, there's always going to be periods of this anyways, and I would argue that there's places in the world that are currently dealing with these events anyways, that are very similar, but likely not going to be at the same degree, because there's so many different religions and cultures from different areas of the world that like prophesize or predict these events that are possibly coming soon. I don't know. So we'll see about that. And so yeah, so what do you do about that information? And what do you do if you think that the world is some kind of like a flat plane with a dome above and below, and heavily managed by these toroidal fields that are electrical magnetic in design, but this also being some kind of like a simulated holographic reality? And when I look at the sky, like, I don't know, it's just weird. Like, I do see that the sun and the moon do look like reflected objects, or like light, like beams of light, or whatever you want to call it, that do like their own perfect sacred geometry patterns when they rotate, possibly above us, either like within the firmament or above, or the dome, or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, like there's like so many things too that I'm looking at, like more fake space stuff, where you're seeing like water bubbles, and just like like incorrect like zero gravity objects being witnessed, or like even like escape hatches or other hatches, or the equipment that they're using, just clearly not even like metallic in structure. So like bendy, foldy, like, so like not like it's something that you can survive in space or anything like that. And yeah, just all interesting things. And so, and there's always been these predictions of like possible fake or real, like alien attacks possibly coming, or alien like interactions, because they might be like these higher level awareness beings, which means they would be like more willing to cooperate and be friendly, and do that than just terminate humans. But and they might be us too, right? Like different like species, or whatever you want to call it, the human race. And again, like that shouldn't be offensive to anyone either. It's all just interesting things, especially if they're beings that come from underwater. Like then even if they were humans, they would evolve differently than us, even like after a few generations, just by virtue of like not even having access to the sun, if and when they used to, like in their own past, because we all have memory, right? Our DNA is genetic memory encoding, and it's like we get copied or printed. Anyway, it's all weird stuff. But even on that, so like, yeah, so even with the goldfish example, like if they don't have exposure to light, then they turn white, and when they do, they're gold. And so for us too, like when we don't get sun, like for me, like I can tan fairly easily, even though I'm pale, I'm so pasty. But if I'm not out in the sun, like I lose my tan like so fast, and then I can be like again pale. And so like I have to be aware of getting out and getting sunlight, and exposure, because this is all like healthy for me. And well, because right now the environment in the outside is healthy. So if there was any issues with radiation or other, you know, like biological or chemical or nuclear like issues like in the air that would make it unhealthy for me, then I would have to find other ways of surviving. And that was another interesting thing about the Truman Show and stuff like that as well. And vampires, like when like being deficient in vitamin D, like how would they get it? From the blood of others, human beings that are getting access to the vitamin D. And that might be why cannibalism was a thing too, for so many other different reasons too. Survival being one of them. But in the news, again, is Alaska. I go on all these random tangents. Yeah, Russia's talking about wanting them back. And like Alaska like borders the Yukon in Canada, and like it's also like over here is like Russia and China, and to the north is the North Pole. Anyway, and so that would be interesting, and it's also like a way to access the North Pole. So I'm wondering why now, and if the North Pole is a way out or in of this holographic reality, then that might be why they are looking at that, right? Very interesting things. And so like China as well, the US as well, like there's going to be a lot more people, I'm assuming, going to be looking at like for access to the north, specifically like the center of the possible world, and then also looking to explore more of the Antarctic terrain regions, or whatever you want to call it, here. And so this usually apparently happens around this period of time in our evolution, in these cycles, before resets happen. And so I bought popcorn, so I'm just gonna like be around for the ride. See if I survive or not. I don't know. But I was possibly going to be going to the South Pacific for a survival thing, and that doesn't seem like it's on the table anymore, only because of me being a Canadian resident. It became a bit of an issue with the software stuff, but it is what it is. It's like more stuff that I have to not be able to do, either because of mandates or vaccine status or like you name it. And so it is what it is. I do want to go on another adventure though. So this guy Ryan, who is heading north, I thought it was going to be next year. He may or may not be coming to Canada soon. So if this doesn't pan out with what I was looking at doing in the next 2 weeks, for a month, I would have been gone. Then I might do this and also do some other things. And so we'll see. But on that note, I don't think there's like a whole lot more to talk about today. ArriveCan app. Oh yeah, no, sorry, I was talking about. Okay, so the 10 Commandments. I just wanted to bring like that up because we're doing more and more like AI stuff, and we're doing more and more cloning and things like that, and genetic editing and altering, and so yeah, so like we're not supposed to bow down to our own creations. That was in the Bible. So don't bow down to our own creation. So anything that we create, right? And so I'm wondering that if that's even like we create our own like babies, we create humans too. So like I'm assuming that we wouldn't be bowing down to them either, but especially not like AI beings or other, you know, sentient beings or not, right? Like we should not be bowing down to things that we created, and then we shouldn't be worshiping things that like we don't bow down or worship things that we create. And so even our smartphones and other things, like we're not supposed to worship them. And so anything we create like is again is by us, by humans. And so on, so that's why like I'm a little bit more sketched out too with like the AI stuff and like us becoming more and more transhuman, and looking at neural links and all these other things that are gonna like make us be disconnected from our like the trinity that we're supposed to encompass, which is like the mind, body, and spirit, or the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, or whatever, like depending on what religion you're from. Yeah, and so like we need to have access to our soul or our spirit in order to have like these higher levels of awareness and consciousness on this earth plane, because this is a game. And if this is a game, then it's a game of love, and we're supposed to transcend hate and anger and fear and all those things. And this is supposed to be some kind of like a quarantine environment where it's like self-contained because we're not supposed to be able to cross-contaminate our actual realities that are beyond this, that are more real, or whatever you want to call it. Um, and like figure things out here in on this plane, and we're possibly being like assessed and being researched and stuff like that too. Like it's a possibility. But we're supposed like, but if that's the case, then we may or may not have volunteered to be here to do this, knowing how difficult it was going to be. And because again, even in cultures and religions from that predate like the last couple hundred years, they talk about like I just got off track of this, but oh, sometimes I lose my train of thought with like this Bible stuff, and it doesn't come back to me what my point was. So sometimes I just got to get to the point. I don't know if I'm gonna get it back. Anyway, so I'm just gonna stop it here, and hope that everyone has a wonderful Tuesday.